Fabric from the land of the five rivers.
Years ago, when we came to Los Angeles, I really believed that the greatness of the Raiders would be in its future.
We are back, man. Appreciate everybody coming through, man. Hey, I just got done. Well, not just got done. I was watching the college championship game. That was a blowout. Jim Harbaugh is most likely going to the NFL, but we'll talk all about that good stuff, man. Appreciate everybody coming through. My guy Severe is backstage. I'm just gonna bring him on. Don't want to keep everybody waiting. Let's see if I could do this right one time. Let's go. My guy Severe, what's going on?
What's up? How's it going? Salute to the chat.
Hey, what's good, man? How you been?
Oh man, I've been solid, man. Just got done watching that game. Not the result I thought would happen, but you know it was an interesting game up until that fourth quarter.
Yeah, man. Your boy Penix. I know you more a Jaden Daniels guy, but Penix. I think that pass rush was getting to him, and he was missing some guys. He had some, especially one early. I was kind of in and out the game. I was doing a few things while the game was on, but he missed his. I think he missed someone early. I think it was like number one. I think he's coming out. Yeah, the receiver that's coming out this year. I think he missed
probably the
wide open.
Number 2 or number 3 receiver on most boards, depending on where you got Malik Neighbors. You know, it's Marvin Harrison and Neighbors and the Dunze.
Yeah. But Michigan, they imposed their will, man. They ran the ball. They were physical. They got after quarterback. Usually that's like the recipe for a win, especially for a Harbaugh coach team. That's his recipe. It's part of his identity, that physical brand of football, and it showed, man. And hey, man, we'll talk about it, man. It's right now, from what we're hearing, is Harbaugh versus AP, but we'll get into all that stuff. Let's get into the chat real quick, man. We appreciate everybody coming through, man.
The chat clowning low key, man.
Are they clowning? Hey, man. Hey, we all, and we gonna clown with them too. We gonna clown. We gonna laugh and we gonna clown with them. He says, Robert Pena in the building. He says, AP, he's my coach. I feel you, man. I feel you. And we're gonna show the poll. I think I put out a poll today, asking the nation who should be the Raiders head coach, AP or Jim Harbaugh. And man, you won't be surprised. I don't think anybody's surprised. I mean, the nation has spoken.
No. Yeah, exactly.
The nation has spoken. Super Omnicron in the building. He says, already reported that Adam Peters is mentioned as the Raiders' interest in GM position. Hey, I know some people in the nation, some people on the show, I feel like mentioned Adam Peters. I think you probably mentioned him as well. He's a guy from San Francisco. He's been a part of a lot of winning organizations, and I don't mind this, man. I don't mind Mark Davis doing his due diligence, like not just assuming like, hey, you know what, everybody's should be hired in the building just because he's just going with the emotion. He's gonna hire every legit candidate because he can, and the Raiders are now a premier destination. We got a brand new stadium, we got state-of-the-art facilities, no state tax. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things going for the Raiders where a front office would love, from a GM and coach would love to get their hands in and get the ball rolling and start winning some football games. But we'll talk a lot about all that today. Dominique 5, he says everybody still want Penix. No, I don't think this is an indictment on Penix. Like I just thought like the better team won. You know, it is what it is. You know, I think every QB's kryptonite is always going to be a pass rush. Like if you get to the quarterback, it's you know, it's so funny when they're like, oh, the way to stop the quarterback is you gotta rattle them early. That's pretty much every quarterback's weakness. If you
exactly.
What did Al Davis say? He said the quarterback must go down. They must go down hard. Like, what was the quote back in the day?
That's why pass rush is not getting paid that much money because like they don't affect the game. Like you're not paying the pass rusher. Let me give you all this money, but no matter what you do, it's not going to affect the outcome. Like no, they're getting paid that much money because a good pass rush is going to affect a good quarterback. I mean, the Giants proved that. You know, that 16-0 season against the Patriots. So.
Yeah, no, facts. Raph in the building, he says, what's up, nation? Hey, appreciate you coming through, Raph. My guy Jack Kenna is in the building, man. Appreciate you coming through. He says, wondering since Pharaoh is late if he's reaching out to Ray. Hey, hopefully we'll have Ray come through, man. We'll have him come through. You actually missed our show. It was me, Severe, and Ray like a couple weeks ago. So we'll try to see if we can get him this week, man. But I think this is what you're talking about, people cracking jokes. I think it's gonna start right now.
Somebody say you the tech advisor.
Tech advisor. Hey man, I'm a one man wrecking crew right now, man. It's a one man team, but yeah, for sure. John Rader says Chargers are in cap hell. Brandon Staley, Brandon Stanley. Are you trying to say Brandon Staley?
Yeah, probably.
There was a Super Bowl team okay. Ranked 29th in cap space, which was bad for Harbaugh to go there when he went to the Niners. They were 8th in cap space. Yeah, but they do. Let's put devil's advocate. They do have Herbert. They have a young QB, exactly. And if you know a lot of coaches, when they like to go into certain situations, they do look at the quarterback situation. The draft is it's not automatic. Everybody knows what Herbert is at this point. You know what I mean? And as much a lot of people like to critique, he hasn't been to the playoffs. He's still a talented quarterback. And
he went. They just blew a 24-point lead.
Right. But then they'll point to oh man, he lost that playoff game when they were up big. Like, does a superstar quarterback do that? I could tell. Like all the critics are gonna come out when quarterbacks lose. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, man, we appreciate everybody coming through, man. Let's just get into it, man. Let's get into it, man. Hey, man, the season is officially over. The Raiders, they finished on a high note, man. They beat the Broncos. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing because
man, it's like, is it really a high note?
Yeah, because it's like, man, like they beat the Broncos, but the Broncos are picking 12, right? I think they're picking 12.
I believe so.
Let me pull up the draftathon or the tankathon. Raiders are currently picking 13th, and the Broncos are picking 12th. And I'll pull it up right here for everybody to see. Hold on 1 second here. All right, so as you can see on the screen, Carolina, they traded their first-round pick to get, their quarterback last year, and Chicago has the number 1 pick. They got two top 10 picks. It's crazy. And you got Washington.
Everybody wants Justin Fields, though.
Yeah, everyone wants Justin Fields. But you know what? Hey, that team is fighting for Justin Fields. They want Justin Fields to stay. It's not like a situation where the whole team is kind of like, man, this dude's trash. Like, we need to get someone. DJ Moore, I heard, like, there's some reports saying that, like, he was fighting for for Justin Fields. Like, hey man, this dude need to be back next season. So he believes in Justin Fields. So I know a lot of people are kind of like, he needs some work on his passing. He needs to work on his passing ability, and he's more of a running quarterback. But hey, they seemed the players and it was like a couple weeks ago, or a week ago, where the fans were chanting for Justin Fields. So it's like Chicago's kind of like in a weird situation because you got the players and the fans like in full support of Fields, so they don't really have to go to quarterback. Even though this is a unique opportunity where they have the number 1 pick in a quarterback-heavy draft.
Chicago fans are like us, where they haven't seen good quarterback play since like the brief stint of Jay Cutler. So anything that's not horrible is relatively good to them because of what they've seen recently. Like, like Rex Grossman was like the last guy they had was like, and then DJ Moore came from Sam Darnold to Justin Fields. So his only professional quarterback he's had was Sam Darnold, and he sees Justin Fields like, is Justin Fields better than Sam Darnold? Of course. Is Justin Fields a good quarterback? Of course not. He's just not a good quarterback. Like if your team is picking that high, it's because like no good quarterback's team is going to be picking that low, like that often. That they were just the number 1 pick, or they just had a high pick last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now they have another high pick again this year, right? So that's like they said he needed a weapon. They got him a star receiver in DJ Moore. DJ Moore had a great year. Justin Fields still like bottom 7 in QBR. So it's like he's not a good player. People need to just get past that.
He was hurt. He missed a few games this year, so it's not like he played the full season. Do you think that, what I mean, like their head coach is kind of questionable? I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm sold on Eberflus as a head coach, but
how many of all the high draft picks, let's just say top 10 quarterbacks that have ever been drafted. First of all, how many that have not made it to their second contract have gone somewhere else and been good players?
You should say that again.
You can't even think. So of all the top 10 quarterbacks drafted, right, and the guys that didn't make it to their second contract, how many of them have gone somewhere else and been good players? Ryan Tannehill spent 7 years with the Dolphins. He didn't have a lot of success, but he got a second contract there. He went to the Titans and had moderate success there. But name another guy that got drafted that high, didn't get a second contract, went somewhere else, and then was like, oh, this guy is good.
Mike Vick?
Doesn't happen. Huh?
Mike Vick?
Mike Vick got a second contract.
Did he get a second contract with
got a crazy contract with Atlanta. Stupid contract.
Because I know he left Atlanta, his whole situation was crazy.
Yeah. And those are different circumstances. But he got a second contract. He got a crazy deal. And then he lost a lot of that money because, he went to jail. Like that, it doesn't happen often. I can't think of a time it's ever happened, to be honest.
So you're saying what quarterback that didn't get a second contract
went to another team
was successful?
Drafted high. So it's the team so when you drafted that high, you have every incentive to give a guy a second contract because it justifies that pick. So if these guys don't get a second contract, it's usually because they're not good. And nobody would know better than the organization themselves that they're not good. So if you're going to invest that high of a pick in a guy and then not give him a second contract, like I said, the most recent one is Ryan Tannehill, and he got a second contract with the Dolphins. He left after year 7, went to the Titans, and was more successful than he was with the Dolphins. But it doesn't happen often.
Yeah, I'm gonna have it get back to you, and anybody in the chat, anything comes to mind, I'm gonna get back to you on that. I got to think about that one. But that being said, as you can see, this is the first half of the NFL draft right here, and I think it's set in stone at this point. Yeah, I think all the games have been played. So yeah, the Raiders are picking number 13, and this is why I say it's kind of like I don't know if it was a good thing the Raiders won, because look who's picking in front of them, Denver.
Yeah, man.
And it looks like they're going to be picking a quarterback. It seems like just based off the moves they made, it seems like they're going to pick a quarterback, and that's like another team in front of the Raiders is going to pick a quarterback. You got Denver,
Exactly.
Minnesota, possibly. You know what I mean? Minnesota could get aggressive and get a quarterback because, Kirk
Yeah.
Cousins is not getting any younger. Do they want to even invest in Kirk Cousins? Who knows what they do this offseason? They might bring him back, but they might be aggressive and get a quarterback if they feel like he's talented enough and they fall in love with him. They might get a quarterback and then, sign Kirk Cousins to a 2-3 year deal and then have him waiting in the wings. Who knows?
Yeah.
Jets. I think Jets. I think
They're
they're going to probably go.
Well,
I think they're gonna go all in on Aaron Rodgers. I feel like.
Yeah.
Because that trade is too aggressive for them to just get another. You know what I mean? Like they already have like the Zach Wilson experiment.
Exactly.
They're like, you know what? That doesn't work for this team. We're ready to win now. So I think they're going to go for a win now move. A number 10.
Exactly.
Chicago got a number 9 pick right here. You never know what they do with. I don't know. They can do a lot in this top 10 right now.
Man, they get 2 bites at the apple, man. If one of them is not a quarterback, that is organizational malpractice, man. Like one of them has to be a quarterback. Has to be.
Yeah.
And even if the guy doesn't, even if Justin Fields wins out, you still got a high draft pick at quarterback. That can be possible trade bait later.
But just look at this, man. It's so tough, bro. Like the Raiders, if they want a quarterback in the first round, and that quarterback it's like look, Washington, New England.
It's like 7-8 teams in front of us, man. Ooh. 7-8 teams in front of us. Man.
You got the type of trade package the Raiders have to put together. It's going to be something where, I don't know if a lot of people are going to want to do. It's going to be at least 3 first round picks, at least at the very least. That's going to be the start of the. Yeah, that's going to be the start of negotiations. It might even be more than that, just because you got so many teams that want quarterbacks. That means the price is going to go even higher. But, it is what it is. Hey, there's a whole offseason ahead from free agency. Raiders got to figure out their head coach, and we're going to get into that and talk about that. But I just wanted to take a look at this real quick. But hey, they did finish the season on a high note. Hey, they won a game, and just watching that game, you could tell like they're playing for AP. They're playing for AP, and hey, it's good to see when you see the fans is bought in, the team is bought in, the former players in the locker room smoking cigars, just chilling. Yeah. Charles Woodson, like, man, this remind me back in the late 90s before we went on our little mini run when John Gruden was there, the first time around. So when you hear stuff like that, you be like, man, you know what? Then you start looking at, like, you start thinking about like all the successful teams and all the good head coaches, and like, you're like, you know what? Maybe the Raiders found their guy. Like, maybe they don't have to go for their big name. Maybe, like, if you look at some of the good head coaches, they all had a start somewhere. Maybe this is AP start. Maybe the Raiders have found something. Maybe we don't have to go for the, the big name and throw the bag and give them GM, because that's the deal breaker for me. It's just the GM. With Jim Harbaugh, it's just the GM, player personnel, like, just give it all to Harbaugh. I'm just like, come on, man. At this point, like, have we seen it successful in any sport? You know what I mean? No, like, man. Basketball, football, like, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's never, like I said, we've had one documented case of it being successful with the Patriots, and that's they got their hands on the greatest quarterback of all time. So it's like, if that's the scenario, if we got the greatest quarterback of all time coming, down the line, maybe it can work. But other than that, I've never seen it work. So
yeah. Daniel Kim says all these rumors of candidates with the way ended today pressures when I become the head coach, crazy. And now Harbaugh is going to ride off into the sunset after bringing Michigan and Natty. Yeah, man. He got what he wanted in college. He literally he's been there, done that. That's what he wanted to do. So at this point, like, he wants to, because you got to think about it. He lost to his brother in the Super Bowl, which is crazy.
That's got to be tough, man.
and what was that thing that was trending back a few months ago? The scripted, talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, man, he's gonna want to go back into the NFL and get that Super Bowl. whether it's against his brother, whoever, man, he's gonna try to get that, and he has all the leverage in the world. He's gonna get paid. You know, them coaches' contracts are guaranteed, so no matter what.
Yes.
And the crazy thing is, like, Harbaugh's in a situation where he can either, you know, he can go to the pros, and then if the pros don't work out, he can still go back to college and get like a crazy contract, and he can do whatever he want. He can do whatever. He
can dictate terms at this point.
Yeah, he's won a national championship, so he's good to go. Let's see, Raider Chaos. He got AP. You know what? I got you, man. I got you. Let's see. Hey, that's his version of you know how, like, I mean, that's his version of, like, when, you know, Harbaugh, who better than us, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of
exactly.
That's his version, man. And it's and that's a very good, that's a Raider, that's very Raider of him to do that too.
For real.
So let's get into it, man. Daniel Kim says, man, smoke is the way it should be. Everyone's got to play their cards close to vest. Yeah, man, we kind of called it beforehand. Like, it's gonna be crazy offseason. The Raiders, like we said before, the Raiders do have to go through a process. They have to do it. They can't just hire a coach right now. They have to hire, I think, 2 minority candidates outside of the organization, and then 1 internally. So they're gonna have to go through a process. But even Mark Davis said, we're not just gonna, like, it's going to be a thorough search. So they're going to they're going to interview, as you can see, they're interviewing Ed Dodds again, which I think is interesting. You know, Ed Dodds has been connected with Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
So that's
kind of joined at the hip.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of joined at the hip. We interviewed him last go around. It was much like Josh McDaniels and Ziegler were a package deal. It was thought that Dodds and Harbaugh were a package deal as well. I mean, I tweeted out what the requirements were for a team hiring an NFL coach. So if you guys go check out my Twitter, it's on my timeline.
I seen that, man. Hey, I seen that. AP try to get the reporters to go to say Raiders.
Raiders, yeah.
It was just like one of them,
like
just
2 or
like
3. Like one lady was loud. One lady was loud. One lady had it though. It was one. I don't know who the lady was.
It was one
lady
man.
Had it down.
It was one, man. It was just one. But you know, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. But yeah, man. Hey, look, they finish on a high note. Looking back at the season, like, Devontae Adams, he finishes with what I think 4th straight 100 or 3rd straight or 4th straight. Not 1,000 yards, but I think 100
receptions.
Yeah, 100 receptions. Like, so, you know, Devontae is going to get his, and he did this year. I mean, he didn't look as good or as dominant as he did in years past, but that probably has something to do with the quarterback play, man. The quarterback play has been too inconsistent. At some point, it's gonna catch up to you. It's gonna catch up to Devontae at least. But I thought it was interesting though, like what Josh Jacobs said in the locker room when he was talking about, like, how his contract was mishandled throughout the offseason, and he was pretty much getting ready, like he was just getting ready to pretty much bounce. He wasn't planning on coming back to the Raiders, but he mentioned he was like he's all in on AP.
So why did he come back?
Why'd he come back?
Like, bro, why'd he come back? He could have forced the trade, bro. Like, I don't want dude back, to be honest with you, man. I don't want dude back, man. It's like, it's just some of the stuff he does, bro. It just seems real immature, man. Real childish. All the cryptic tweets and all that stuff. Some of the stuff he says on Twitter and on social media, it's just like, bro, I'm cool off you. You weren't productive on the field. 3.5 yards a carry. Like, there have been running backs cut for that level of production that he put up. And we talking about giving him a long-term deal. I'm good on you, bro. Zeus had the same opportunities that you had and was much more productive with them. So I'm chunk the deuce and get loose, man. Go. You wasn't happy with it. Go find your happiness somewhere else.
But hold on. So do you think he gets a long-term deal after this season? Especially after last offseason where the running back market, like the running backs weren't getting paid. They weren't getting contracts. And he just had like a really tough season for a lot of different reasons. You know, you could talk about like obviously he missed the offseason, the contract dispute. He wasn't really in prime shape. He was, you know, he kind of finished the season hurt. O-line was kind of shaky. You know what I mean? Run blocking.
Was the O-line shaky? Look what Zamir did with that same O-line.
But I feel like they
and remember, some of those games we were missing Colton Miller. So it's like, was the O-line shaky or was it just Josh not being productive?
But I also think the O-line got better as the season went along.
I mean, did the O-line get better, or did the guy that's running the ball just find the correct holes and make the correct reads? This is what I'm saying. It's like, you know, like the game before Zamir got off, Josh had a bad game.
Mm-hmm.
The very next game, and for 4 straight games, Zamir is very productive. You know, averaging over like 5 yards a carry for like 3 of those 4 games, I want to say. So it's like, was it the O-line or was it Josh Jacobs? It's like, bro, like before his contract year, he was not healthy one complete season. He had a good season his rookie year. I want to say a bad season his second year, and then a half bad. Then he carried us down the stretch of that third year, right? And that's when like he start cooking towards the end of the season. That's when we went to the playoffs because he was carrying us. At the beginning of that year, he was not, you know, he was dinged up and he wasn't productive. And then then he blew up in the contract year, and now he got a little bit of money, and now he's unproductive again. Like I'm good on that, bro. I'm not gonna take that money, give it to Kuntz, give it to Merritt, give it to Spillane. Like I'm divvying that up, and I'm running with Zamir. We can pick up we want a vet free agent at running back, or if we want to draft a guy late in the draft, I'm good with that. But I'm letting Josh Jacobs walk, bro. I'm letting him walk.
So okay, so he's been in the league for 5 years, and 3 out of the 5 years he's ran over 1,000 yards. And
2 of those years were 17 game seasons, I want to say. So like 1,000 yards is not what it used to be anymore.
Well, no. Two of those years was 16 game seasons.
Okay.
Last year it was a 17 game season, and he led the league in rushing. So he dominated last year. That was his best year in his career. Even if he didn't play like the six, you know, it was 16 games. Like he was dominating. He had a great year.
Last year was dominant.
He was the best thing about our offense, next to Devontae Adams. Like,
if it wasn't for him last year,
it would have been way worse.
Our record would look much worse than what it looked like. Much worse. Than it would look like.
Exactly. And so it's kind of tough. You know, I think he's been pretty consistent. I mean, I think he's been pretty solid. I think you could probably say maybe injuries. But, you know, it's going to be interesting what that contract is going to be. What contract? Okay, what contract would be reasonable for Josh Jacobs?
Probably reasonable for Josh Jacobs.
You about to say something hella goofy?
Nah. I was gonna say like 3 years, 30. 3 years, 30. That's like the very most I would give out. No, if I'm looking at him, I'm giving him two for maybe 19. You know, based on his production and his injury history. But you know, like Josh Jacobs, and people say like, and people I know the first thing people will say is that, oh no, we had Aiden O'Connell instead of Jimmy G. But Josh Jacobs had some games with Aiden O'Connell too, and he wasn't productive either. So it's not like they were playing like different squads. You know, or you know, they both had opportunities to play with Aiden O'Connell, who started 10 games. Aiden O'Connell started 10 games, correct? I want to say started 10 games.
Pull that up.
He had the Chargers game, and then he started every game of AP's tenure, and he went 5-4. So he had the Chargers game where we lost, which was his first start. Then he had the 9 games with AP, and in most of those games, Josh Jacobs wasn't productive. He was productive those first 2 games against the Jets and the Giants. Then he had one more good game in there, I forgot against who, where he had that one long run. And if you take out that one long run, he averaged like 2 yards a carry. So it's not like he wasn't productive. He was not a productive player. So I'm letting him walk.
The thing is though, I don't want people to get too excited about Zamir White. I mean, I like Zamir White. He showed me more than he's shown in the past. Obviously, he has more as an he probably has like a little bit more opportunity. But obviously, the biggest thing for him is that he's cheap. He's cheap, but compared to Josh Jacobs, but I think Josh Jacobs obviously he's a better running back. If we can get Josh Jacobs for under 12 mil, I think that's pretty solid. You know what I mean? And
I'm good on him, bro. I'm good on paying. I was good on paying him that much last year when he had his best season. Running backs that get that kind of usage usually don't end up being, unless you're like elite level receiver. Like the only guy that's really recovered from that was Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. Usually when you put those kind of miles on a running back that early in their career, they're never the same the rest of their career. You know, like you can look at David Johnson, who was actually a really good receiver. He was never the same again. My man that came from the Cowboys, who went to the Titans. I can't think of his name like that. Never the same again. Like these guys get that type of mileage on them, they start getting banged up, and then they're never the same.
Calton Luda says Severe need to change his name to Severely Negative Raider.
Yeah, man, I just keep it real, man. People don't like the realness, man.
Hey, it's a yin and the yang show, man. It's a yin and the yang show.
Yeah, man. I gotta keep it 100, man.
But Severe's being honest though. He's making a good point about Josh Jacobs. It's just at the end of the day, like, you know, that's the big thing. It's like, do you want to really pay a running back?
Bro, I'm not doing it.
And now
I'm
that
paying Coombs.
And now that we're definitely I agree. And I brought that up like a few weeks ago when Kuntz was showing us that he's turning the corner as a pass rusher. Obviously, he's had a really productive season. I think he finished with 8 sacks. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Anybody in chat, if I'm wrong, let me know. I think he finished around 8 sacks, 7 to 8 sacks this season. Hey, man, pay him now rather than later. If you want to build, if these are good contracts to make, is to start negotiating early, so then you get ahead of the market, get a good deal, and now you got 2 big pass rushers that complement each other, that you already know fit in the locker room. You already know. Like they got good relations in the locker room, and just gonna come on. It's just this is a good problem to have, you know. So yeah, man. I agree with signing Kuntz long term for sure, no doubt.
Yeah, man. Like when Kuntz reminds me of, and his career is kind of on that same trajectory. He can except they let this guy get away. Hopefully, we don't make that same mistake. But Hassan Reddick was drafted. First of all, he came on late. I forgot what school he went to, but he came on late in the draft. Did he go to Temple? I don't remember. But he was like a fast riser in the draft that year. Like went from a guy that was like maybe a mid to second round pick, and then he shot up draft boards and would end up being the first round pick with the Cardinals. And then he wasn't really productive those early years in his career. Then he went to the Eagles, and then he like blew up and started having like great seasons. They're about the same size. Their games are very similar. And then right now, Malcolm Kuntz is on that same track where early on he couldn't really figure it out, and now he's starting to put it together. And Hassan Reddick is, he's one of the best pass rushers in the league. One of the leaders on that defense. So man, I want to lock up Kuntz now.
Yeah,
Jacobs should go
start negotiating now for sure. And I hopefully whoever is at that GM spot, whoever's in that front office spot, they figured that out real early. I think that was one of the issues with Ziegler and the last regime, is that they didn't know what they had in the roster. They were over aggressive, and it didn't work out. And they certain things, certain moments, like certain players that they should have kept, they didn't keep. Players that they extended, they shouldn't have extended because they didn't know how to. You don't extend players that you don't really know how to. You're not going to know how to utilize them. Like a perfect example, Hunter Renfrow. Dude is getting paid, and they don't even know how to use him. What's the point of, and he might be a player. We're talking about the season finale. We're looking back at the season. This another player. He's probably good. I don't think he's coming back. I think they're gonna, come on. They're gonna have to figure out a way to unload that contract.
Trey Tucker essentially took his spot. Trey Tucker is a guy I was very critical of. I did not like at all. Still iffy on him, but he's a guy where you know what I'm intrigued at least now. Before I was completely out on him, hated the pick. Now I'm like, okay, he's actually starting to put some things together. So I'm intrigued to see what he can do with us, kind of going forward. So I mean, I think that kind of sealed Renfro's fate. That in his contract.
Facts. But let's get into your favorite part of the show, man. Notable quotables. Notable quotables. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Notable quotables here. So if you want to give the people an intro and just let people know, this is just a segment where we just play quotes that we like that happened throughout the week from a player, coach, whoever, and we just like to talk about it, and let's break it down. What's this clip that you got for the people?
So I think most people would agree that essentially what carried this team on the team we thought would be the offense was the defense. And, early in the year, they weren't performing up to the level that we wanted them to. And then late in the year, that they kind of were. And that was, of course, that was a change that took place in there. So this is Bucky Brooks talking about the change that he saw happen with the defense.
Okay.
The team plays much differently under Pierce. And I will say this, knowing him as a personal friend, knowing him when he was coming out of Arizona as a player, as a scout, and watching his career, he has all the things that you need to have. Smart, he's tough, he's a decorated player, Pro Bowl player, been a Super Bowl champion. So he has the attention of the locker room when he stands out. But I think the thing that has been underrated, really good coach. Patrick Graham has been freed up to play the kind of style that he wants to play. We've seen this defense get better and better. The 7 games that AP has been in charge, and a lot of that was kind of coming to fruition anyway. But Antonio Pierce has given this team a lot of confidence while still maintaining the discipline and detail that you need. Yeah, he is definitely deserving of being a head coach for the Raiders. The team play.
Man, so he's talking about Antonio Pierce, but he also shouts out, Patrick Graham and what he did, his job he did defensively, which I'm not mad at it. It's kind of like everybody knows this at this point, man. He's not going to be that big X's and O's, coach, but
he doesn't know that.
Who doesn't know that? You think he doesn't know that?
He said in his presser today, he's like, I don't know where people talk about I'm not an X's and O's guy. I don't get this far in the league with X's and O's, which I agree, but there's levels to it. And I think that I don't want to hate on him, but that quote right there kind of concerned me because the most important thing about being a good leader, and you have to know what you don't know, right? You have to know what you don't know, and you have to know that, but I think he's been good in terms of he was able to delegate. He kind of let the defense do what the defense was going to do and the offense do what the offense was going to do and kind of left it in their hands. But, I hope he doesn't get into a zone where he's trying to prove, like, oh, they say I'm not the X and O's guys. I'm about to get out there and show them. And then, that's when ego starts to get involved. And that's when a once revered and loved person could go down the wrong track and kind of veer off course.
I mean, that could happen, but a lot of people that know Pierce, that spoke with Pierce, one of the things they highlight is like he's one of the smartest players they've ever been around.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree.
And so and his background is defense. He linebacker, middle linebacker on a championship middle linebacker. He played on Super Bowl teams.
Pro Bowler too.
Pro Bowler. So he played it at a pretty high level. So, hey, maybe he there's some truth to what he said in the presser if that's what he said. So I it is what it is. But I do respect that he allows his coordinators to do their job. And I think part of the responsibility of being a head coach is to delegate the responsibilities. You know what I mean? I felt like we kind of felt like with McDaniels, for example, we felt like, man, this guy is such a great coordinator. He's led so many great offenses. Why are you so struggling to be a head coach? And some people might even say with him was the fact that maybe he shouldn't be calling plays. Maybe he should delegate that responsibility to his offensive coordinator. Maybe it was a little bit too much. not every head coach can be a great play caller because, part of being a head coach, you got time management. There's so many things that you got to focus on. And, with Josh McDaniels, we are kind of questioning like, man, what was going on with this offense? Because to this day, I don't even know what happened. And it is what it is. He's gone. But with Pierce, at least he knows that. I mean, at least he's honest with himself, where he'll have the good people around him and let them do their job, and then he could do his job at the highest level. I think that's the recipe for success for me, for Pierce. But
that's the best setup right there.
But he talks. I think Bucky Brooks, he brought up, Patrick Graham, and that's a perfect segue to the second clip. And this I think if anybody's heard it at this point, if anybody's heard it, I wouldn't be shocked. But I want to talk about this because this is a real possibility, man. And Patrick Graham last week had his presser, and he seemed a little bit emotional.
Patrick, this has been an up and down year just with things going on that you don't control. I'm just curious, how much fun have you had coaching this group of guys?
I told the guys the other day, and I'm not going to get emotional, I promise you that, but I've had the most fun this year coaching this group of players than I had my whole career. Plain and simple. Not taking anything away from the guys I've coached before, but their growth, how they've improved, how they embraced myself, the coaches, the turmoil that we faced, and how they laid out there on the line for us, starting with our leader, Max, from him to the rookie that has the least amount of playing time. And I've had a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun seeing them, go out there, win games, lose games, and try their best and try to do what I'm asking them to do, learn from their mistakes.
Patrick, this has been an up and down.
He seemed real emotional. It almost seemed like his outro, man. He's out of here.
Yeah, man. That didn't sound like a guy that's like, oh, okay, I'm ready to come back again and do it again next year. Like, that sounds like a guy that's kind of resigned to the fact that I'm gone one way or another. So, whether that be, through hook or crook, where he gets a head coaching job or he gets a defensive coordinator offer somewhere else, possibly East Coast where he's from. That could be a situation where, we lose PG. And if we lose PG, I think that is a major blow to what Antonio Pierce does as a coach.
Yeah,
a major
blow.
blow.
I think that's what no one's really talking about is like the fact that like everybody's talking about AP and Harbaugh, you know what I mean? Which obviously it's a big thing for the Raiders, who's going to be the next head coach. But like in all of our minds, we're like, okay, whoever the head coach is, Patrick Graham has got to come back. He's coming back. Yeah. But it doesn't sound like it. And I think our nemesis, you know what I mean, division rival, hated rival, the Chargers requested an interview with Patrick Graham.
Yes.
And for one of the head coaching spots, which, it's just an interview, but I think some teams, they noticed, the Raiders finished the season top number 6 total defense in the NFL. Yeah. Teams are going to take notice, man. Like, hey, look, he didn't have a lot to work with, and the guy put out a productive defense second year with the Raiders.
Yes.
It's a possibility he could leave, and and you made this point before. You said, hey, look, at the end of the day, Patrick Graham is not really tied to this coaching staff, to AP. AP is the one that hired. I mean, Patrick Graham is the one that hired AP.
Exactly.
So he could be like, you know what? Maybe this is a better chess move if I go over here.
Exactly.
And I think the way the Raiders can possibly bring him back, if maybe they offer, like, let's say if AP becomes a head coach, he offers him like maybe assistant head coach, defensive coordinator.
Yeah, he had to. But the thing about this though, think about this, right? Let's say I'm a supervisor at a job, and I bring in one of my boys to be like a regular employee, and then the manager quits. And instead of elevating me, who's already a supervisor, they're like, hey, you know what? This guy's been here a little while. We like how he runs things. We're going to make you the manager. So my guy that I brought in is now my boss. Am I going to stay there? I didn't pay my dues, right? I didn't pay my dues. I didn't have opportunities in the past. He got two interviews with the Vikings. Yep. So it's not like it was one of those like Rooney Rule type deals. He got 2 interviews with the Vikings. That means he was a finalist before they end up going with O'Connell. So he had 2 interviews with that franchise. So he's been considered as a head coach before. Brian Daboll wanted him back with the Giants. The only reason he left that job after Joe Judge was fired was to coach with McDaniels, because he had originally agreed to stay on with Daboll. And then Josh McDaniels called him and said, I want you to be my DC here. So he left the Giants. And look what just happened today. Wink Martindale and the Giants part ways. They mutually agreed to part ways.
AKA, he was about to get fired, but he was just like, you know what? Let me just bounce real quick before it looks bad on my resume.
They found some money missing out the register, bro. I'm quitting. I'm out.
Man.
So,
But before we go on, so what's real, what's not? So if anybody doesn't know, we just say we give out 2 statements and you guys decide if it's real or not. Obviously, we also give our 2 cents on it. Patrick Graham is gone. Is that real or is it not?
I think that's real, man. I think that's real. I think everything, just the climate of the NFL right now, we've already seen a few coaches fired already. Just the job he's done with his defense, the way that he handled that pressure right there, that didn't seem like a guy that had a feeling he'd be back or had made up in his mind that, you know what, I want to come back. I think he's already starting to look elsewhere. And I think if even if it's not a head coaching job, I think it's a very realistic option. And the Raiders have already given them permission that he can go somewhere else and also be a DC. So there's no guarantee that he'll be back. And I don't think he will, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that presser kind of set it all for me. Like, it's just got to read between the lines, man. You're emotional because it's a goodbye. Like you're not going to be coming back. Like, he probably enjoyed his stay. He probably enjoyed coaching the players on his team. But it doesn't sound like he's coming back. There is a possibility, you know what I mean? If he doesn't get a spot, maybe if, AP can talk him to come back, if he gets hired. I don't think if Harbaugh comes in, I think Harbaugh is going to bring his own guy for sure. Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, like if Harbaugh gets it, at first I was kind of holding out hope, like, all right, you know what, if Harbaugh, maybe he'll, nah. Now Harbaugh, he's coming in. He's going to bring his own offensive coordinator. He's going to bring his own defensive coordinator. His own everything is going to be different. I don't even think, to be honest with you, I'm not even sure if, Kelly will be back if Harbaugh is hired. Like I think it would be, it's
going to be Dodge. It's going to be Dodge. Probably. Yeah. I think they're a package deal, kind of like Ziegler and McDaniels.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know we heard Davis a couple weeks ago have like an interview where he said that, preferably he's going to hire the GM first and then he's going to have a say on who gets hired. But you got to think like Davis has his eye on the head coach candidate. Like he knows, like if he wants Harbaugh, he's going to try to figure out a way to make that happen. Same thing with AP. He's going to try to figure out who's a guy that's going to match up with, because think about it. Imagine like a GM coming in and say, I don't like AP or Harbaugh. You think that's gonna fly with Davis? He's gonna be like, nah.
But like the thing about it is that though, like if you hire Jim Harbaugh, you basically hired the GM before the head coach because he wants to wear both hats. So you basically hiring that's the 2-for-1 right there. So that's kind of killing 2 birds with one stone because there's going to be a guy that's going to be a figurehead in the position as a GM, but everybody's going to know who's really running the organization. That's why he had a falling out with the 49ers, because him and Trent Baalke, who started out as one of his good friends, they would go on jogs together. By the end of it, there was a major disagreement about the hierarchy of the 49ers organization, i.e., who has control over player personnel. and that's why he ultimately exited the 49ers.
Just another DJ says, y'all forget with Jimmy G, nobody was productive in the run game because good point. Because opposing teams stacked the box. Yeah, hey, Jimmy G.
But that's my point. That's my point. It's not nobody was productive in the run game. Josh got all of the carries. Josh got the same opportunities at the end of the season with Aiden O'Connell at quarterback, and he still wasn't productive except for 2 games of real production, 1 game of false production because he had 1 big run that kind of inflated his yard.
So his 100-yard game, he had 200-yard games this year, right? Or at least 2, right?
He had Zamir had, I want to say he had 2. He had 2. I think he got close another time. But
he missed the last 3. He missed the last 3-4 games of the season, right? Last 3-4 games.
Oh, you're talking about Jacobs?
But I'm talking about Jacobs had at least 2 100-yard games, right? Who did that come under? Did that come under AOC, or did that come under Jimmy G?
It came under AOC. Came under AOC.
So it's a valid point. It's a valid point.
But my point is that he had 300-yard games. One of those, but technically it was 2. But let's give him 3 because I think against the Giants, he had 100 and then he lost it. But the other 100-yard game, 63 of his yards came on 1 run. The rest of his carries, he averaged like 2.2 yards per carry the rest of that game. So that's not really a 100-yard game. That's you blew up for 1 big play, and the rest of the time you were unproductive. So that's not really a real 100-yard game. So it's all these other opportunities. He was no good. He had 5 opportunities. 2 of them he was productive. The rest he was not productive. He only had 6 touchdowns on the year.
I just hope Josh Jacobs doesn't watch this and be like, you know what? I'm about to go to the Denver Broncos, or I'm gonna go to the Chargers.
Let him go.
I just hope he goes somewhere else. I do not want him to become the Raider killer. I do not want that to happen.
Let him go.
But look, hey, a friendly little service announcement. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, hit that notification bell if you haven't already, so be notified when we go live and also when I drop some new content. But yeah, man, hey, the algorithm is very real. So if you hit that like button, I want to keep coming back and doing this, man. So I appreciate the support. And as you can see, my guy, Severe Raider, man, he gets y'all agitated, Mr. Controversy himself.
Love it.
You know what I mean? But he keeps it real. You know what I mean? He backs it up. But hey, go ahead and follow him all over social media. You see the Severe Raider, and obviously his YouTube channel as well. Go ahead and subscribe to him, Severe Raider. But yeah, man, hey, the people have been talking. Everybody's talking about this right now. AP versus Jim Harbaugh. Everybody's talking about it. It's a 2-man race. From if you're watching what the rumors are saying, and all these reporters and insiders and the insiders' inside information, they're all saying that it's between Harbaugh and AP, which is a good problem to have. I mean, you got AP, who's a man of the people, man. The nation wants him for the most part. The players want him. The alumni want him to be the head coach. You could tell he got a lot of support. But then you got Jim Harbaugh, and he just won a national championship. Everywhere he's won. So there's a risk factor if you go with AP because he's just an interim head coach. And I wish I had this. I try to get this for y'all before the show. But hopefully I can get this information soon. But I was trying to find out, and I think it was out at some point in the season, they had the numbers out, where the likelihood, what are the, the numbers of how many times the interim tag was removed off a head coach. And then when it's removed, what was their success rate, like their all-time record? And I don't think it was good. It's maybe the exception. I think we talked about this. We said was it Bruce Arians was probably the only exception.
Yeah, but his thing was his scenario was different because I think you were saying like he didn't get the job the next year, so he took over. I want to say week 4 because Pagano had to step down, and he went 9-3 the rest of the year, and he won Coach of the Year that year. Mm-hmm. And then he got hired by the Cardinals. the article I was reading, and it's the only article I could find on it. They just talked about. I think at this time, it was an old article. It was like 10 years old. They said at that time there were 42 instances where that happened, and only 9 of the 42 coaches who went on to be hired as full-time coaches had winning records. This is like I said, this is like a decade ago, but I can't think of many instances since then where it's happened, and there's been a lot of success. So, I mean, just not saying it can't happen, not saying AP doesn't deserve the job just because of that, but it's, you got to kind of factor that into it. Yeah.
You do got to look at history, man. It doesn't happen too often. Not to say that
That's
AP won't be the exception, but at the end of the day, like the success rate isn't really too high. But hey, earlier today I put out a poll: should the Raiders hire AP Jim Harbaugh for head coach? Antonio Pierce, 85% support. Jim Harbaugh, 15%. But hey, like I said, this goes to what I said earlier. Everybody is supporting AP right now. But there are some people who are not like, you know what? Come on now. Are we going to be the organization that passes on Jim Harbaugh once he's available and he wants to come here, and then he goes somewhere else and has success? Are we going to let the Chargers just go get Jim Harbaugh and beat us up for years to come? Like, are we going to really let that happen? And we have an opportunity to get him. You know what I mean? There's that.
No. Know what this reminds me of? Oh, man. I don't want to go there. I do not want to go there.
What?
I'm going to go there, though. I'm already considered the negative guy. Like, remember when we had a chance to get Tom Brady? And then, like, John Gruden and Mark Davis set it all up. And then John Gruden said no. And then Tom Brady's like, you passing on me for this MFer? Like, for this dude? Like, you passing on me for this dude. And that could be another situation we're in where, like, you know what? We had an opportunity to get him. And then we say no. And then he goes somewhere else and he, like, has prolonged success and he takes them to deep in the postseason or to a Super Bowl. Imagine if he goes to the Chargers and they get to a Super Bowl. Oh, my God.
I don't want to see that. Man. I hope if he doesn't go to if he goes to a team, just go to Chicago or something like that.
Yeah, hope goes to the Bears. Man.
You know what's crazy? I didn't even know Jim Harbaugh was a first-round pick. The Bears
I didn't know that either.
They drafted him in the first round way back in the day, like
right.
in the 80s or something like that, like 80s. But they actually drafted him in the first round, so he has that connection with the Chicago Bears. That's where the connection comes from. They actually drafted Jim Harbaugh, and
he played there,
and he played there. Yeah, so there's a connection for them, but I'm not sure if that's going to be an option. It sounds like it might be the Chargers, to be honest with you. You want to keep it real. Like, I think it might be the Chargers because they already have a quarterback in place. You hear people talk about how, Jim Harbaugh had a lot of good things to say about Justin Herbert. And we see it all the time. Coaches like to go to teams that have established quarterbacks already. You know what I mean?
Man.
It is what it is. Like, they're not going to go to a team like, oh, they have a couple of first-round picks, but then it's not a guarantee. Like, how do you know you're going to get your guy? You know what I mean? Maybe exactly. Chicago. I can see Chicago happening. Yeah. Like, I
think Chicago will be the if he decides, because at that point at least he has an opportunity to get a guy he wants. Whether if he likes Justin Fields, he saw plenty of Justin Fields in the Big Ten. So if that's something he wants to sign up for, he has the opportunity to keep Justin Fields. Or if he wants to go with a guy like Caleb Williams or Drake May, or if he wants to get Jaden Daniels or Michael Penix, he has options there. So He's going to the Chargers. I mean, having a quarterback is attractive. I think that's part of the reason why Josh McDaniels wanted to come here, because he thought of what he can do with Carr, and then he got here and saw, hey, you know what? Outside looking in, Carr isn't exactly what I thought he was. And then, at that point, everything just sputtered out of control because he didn't know what the hell to do as a coach. So, I think just having that quarterback, if you got a quarterback and a head coach, your organization is stabilized. You're going to be a solid team, at least. Mm-hmm. And we haven't had either for a long time.
Yeah. But just going back to AP, man, I just want to show this picture to everybody, man. If pictures spoke 1,000 words, man, Look at this, man. Like the nation was like chanting his name at the game. You got Devontae Adams saying he's never seen that before. If anything, he's seen coaches get booed, but not chant their name. And this is a picture of, AP, walking off the field and then just embracing Raider Nation. And also, here's another picture of Champ Kelly and AP in the locker room. You know what I mean? So it's like, man. And then, obviously look at this right here. Patrick Graham looked like he on his way out with hugging Crosby over here.
Exactly.
Yeah, it just looked like that picture right there. I was like, man, it just seemed like Patrick Graham is gone. But just to keep it positive, AP, man, he's figured it out with this locker room. They're all in. They bought in. It kind of makes you think, like, if you give them a full offseason, you put the right offensive coordinator. That's the big thing. Who's going to be that OC with AP? I think that will be a big factor because they're going to be drafting a quarterback. And that's an important hire, especially if you're going to be drafting a young QB. Who's going to be the guy that's going to be helping developing that QB? We know Patrick Graham is not going to be that guy. We know that as a coach, as a leader of men, he's there, but is he going to be the guy developing the quarterback? Nah, he needs to have a OC there, maybe someone experienced, someone that's been there, done that that can, because that's one thing too, because if we hire, let's say if the Raiders hire, they hire AP and they get an OC, but it's a young up-and-coming OC, that OC is going to be gone after a year if he does a good job.
Exactly. But that's the danger you get into when you have a head coach that's not really an X's and O's guy. That's part of the reason why so many teams opt for young offensive minds as head coaches, because what your quarterback does has an extremely outsized impact on the game, right? If you get good quarterback in the game, you're most likely you're going to win that game, because that's one player that has to do well on their job, as opposed to on defense you need 11 guys to do a pretty good job. So if you get outsized production from that one position, you have a higher likelihood of winning that game. So that's why they go with these young offensive minds that can call plays and get the quarterback going. It makes it easier. But when you have a X's and O's guy and you have an offensive coordinator that does well, in a few years she's going to likely get another job, and then you're going to have to get so you're going to be cycling through offensive coordinators every 2 or 3 years if they perform well in their job. And that's not how, like, look at Mike Tomlin. They have yet to be able to find an offensive coordinator that can really sustain any type of success. And ever since Ben Roethlisberger retired, they haven't had really any success on offense.
Well, to be fair, they it's hard to find a QB. It's not easy to find a QB. And have they found a QB? What are the QB options? Okay, Roethlisberger, Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett. These are all guys that are like, and part of the reason is that they've always it's like, all right, Tomlin has always put a consistent winner out on the football field above 500. But the ugly part of it is that when you're just good enough, you don't really finish with a high draft pick to get a top quarterback, which, you know what I mean? It's like it's like that. It's no man's land. Like, it's tough, bro. It's tough.
Yeah, that's where you never want to be. Like, they say that in the NBA, it goes the same in the NFL. You either want to be in contention for a championship, or you want to bottom out and be able to rebuild and get as many assets as possible. And that's why people they get sentimental about how I don't believe in tanking, and that's against who I am. Like, bro, you got to be real, man. You got to put yourself in the best. When you don't have a realistic shot at the championship, you got to put yourself in the best position going forward. Now, you don't want to lose games on purpose, but hey, I'm gonna play these young guys and I'm gonna see what happens. Give these guys some experience. But sometimes the late season win, it can galvanize you for the next year. Like, I always bring up January 2nd, 2000. We were eliminated the week before the final game. And then we went in there, we played the Chiefs, we knocked the Chiefs out of the playoffs, and we finished 500. And then that kind of catapulted the John Gruden tenure, and we had that, that success until we subsequently traded him. But that win is what people point to as, hey, that was kind of the turning point for the organization. Could that be a similar situation today? Possibly.
Yeah, and speaking of the situation, this is basically me speaking to how AP left the field, and hopefully y'all can hear this. I was trying to play this clip earlier, so let me play it real quick. Man, they were going crazy for AP at the game. Look, this is at the end of the game. AP walking off the field. Can y'all hear this? AP embracing the field. At the very least, y'all can see this, man. AP embracing Raider Nation.
Yeah.
Chanting his name, man. Hey, man. Hey, look, man. I like I said, man. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a good problem to have. I think if AP doesn't get it, most likely we're gonna if we get Jim Harbaugh is not a bad candidate. Obviously, he comes with the resume, the experience. We can talk about the success that he's had at different places, but obviously, if AP gets it, we're still excited.
Fact.
You know what I mean?
Fact.
This is not going to be the same situation back in 2021 when we hired. Because I remember when we hired McDaniels, and it was mixed. It was like, what? Like, where did this come from? You know what I mean? Like, and then I had to grow to like it, but eventually, it didn't work out, obviously. But like now, like I feel like we can be excited about who's going to be the next head coach for the Raiders. And it looks like it's, from all the reports, it's down to either AP or Jim Harbaugh. We'll see how it shakes out. In my opinion, I'm not sure if Jim Harbaugh comes to the Raiders. If it's between the Chargers and the Raiders, just because of the quarterback factor. We don't have a quarterback. And we're picking number 13. Maybe he's like, oh, well, if he gets GM control and he gets to draft his guy, McCarthy, JJ McCarthy, which could possibly happen, because he coached him in college.
I pray that does not happen. I pray that doesn't happen. But I will say this, man. My brother AP is out there campaigning for this job. Bro, he is out there shaking hands and kissing babies. What had me rolling was when AP showed up with the glasses, I was like, "Oh man, this man is trying to."
Oh yeah.
Like he was
sophisticated AP.
Bro, he was in the meeting with Mark Davis, and Mark Davis was like, "You know what, Antonio? I'm not sure if you're the right head coach for this job." AP was like, how about now?" And Mark was like, "Man, you got the job."
Hey man, you impress me every time I talk to you. You impress me every time I talk. But you know what though? Like I said before, what is Mark Davis saying to AP after the game? Like, what is he saying?
Bro, I don't know, man. I don't know. I do not know.
That's like a $1 million question that needs to be answered. Like, what are you saying to the head coaches after the game? Like, you already come out and said like, hey, I'm not the talent evaluator like my father. I'm not my father as far as when it comes to football. I need to hire someone that knows football to be in the building. But, that's a conversation we've had time and time again. But it's just, man, because they talked about it yesterday again. Like, AP had a really long conversation with Mark Davis again. So hopefully that's a sign of good thing. Maybe it's like him just telling him, congratulate him, tell him, you had a good game. But, I'm just saying, what is he really talking? What is he saying, man? That should be like a skit. Someone should come out with a skit or something.
Oh, man. Already working on it, brother. But I would say is that like the most important relationships in your organization, you always want your quarterback and your head coach to have a great relationship. Your head coach and your GM and your owner, and your owner and your head coach. You want all those guys to have a good relationship. So maybe they're laying down the foundation of having like a solid relationship, which I wouldn't be too mad at, kind of, and you want to pick his brains. Like, you know what, AP is still a young head coach. Hey, what were you thinking here? What was behind this decision? And it could all just be strategic, right? Maybe one day down the line, maybe you don't keep AP, and you have to face him down the line, and you kind of want to know what makes him tick. That could be what the Chargers are doing with Patrick Graham. Maybe they don't want Patrick Graham at all. They just want to bring him in. Hey, let's pick this guy's mind. Let's pick his brain and see what he's thinking, and that'll give us a competitive advantage if he stays with the Raiders. It's all gamesmanship right now. It's all subterfuge right now. Like it's people playing the game.
Yeah. And real quick, we didn't even say it. So the second what's real, what's not statement is Jim Harbaugh to the Raiders. Is that real or is it not? Real quick.
I'm gonna say not. But where there's smoke, there's fire. But I don't think AP has so much momentum right now, man. It'd be hard for me to see him not getting the job.
Yeah, I'm gonna say not, just for the reasons I said before. I think Chargers might be the team that he goes to, or it's gonna be tough, man. I don't know if the Raiders are gonna be the team that gets him. I think there is interest there, but I'm not sure if. Hey, look, I wanted him back in 2014, to be honest with you. 2014, I'm like, oh my. Yeah. When I seen that the Niners were I was like, what? Because I seen what he did with the Niners, up close and personal in the Bay Area. Like, I seen the Niners were trash before Harbaugh got there. He comes in, they become instant title contender, championship game, physical, dominant defense, run game, and that's the identity that Jim Harbaugh is going to bring to this team, which I feel like would fit this team. You know what I mean? Based off what we've seen so far this season, this defense coming together, gelling. You know what I mean? You would hope that, Patrick Graham would be here to carry on it to next year, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen. But at least we know what the identity that that Jim Harbaugh is going to bring, and I think with AP too as well. We can see it, man. He former middle linebacker. He's tough. Since he became the interim head coach, instantly this team just became a whole completely different team. I think that defensively they were solid before he took over, but they took it to a whole different level, and I think it could get even better with him as head coach and bringing his whole offseason and with free agency and the draft and getting his coaches in the building. But let's get into the chat real quick. Man, we appreciate everybody coming through, man. Y'all are going crazy in the chat.
Chat going wild, man.
We just wanted to talk some football, man. The season is over, season finale. You know what I mean? But
man, shout out to my brother Big Mike. I see Big Mike in the chat. I see the Egalitarian, Jack Kenna, everybody in the chat, man. Shout out to you guys.
Salute Big Mike. If y'all haven't subscribed, go over to Big Mike's channel, subscribe to my guy, man. He knows his stuff. But Raider Nasty 650 says Zamir is decent at best. Well, he's decent at best, gets dead legs on contact, and rarely breaks one-on-one tackles. That's the one thing I say about Zamir. He's not elusive. He's not elusive, but he's physical. He's strong, and he does have break. I feel like
he has a gear
he's this close to getting.
Speed.
Yeah, he's this close to, if he gets the open lane, like I feel like he could take it to the house. He has that speed, you could tell. But Josh Jacobs is definitely a better running back. I agree with
Fact.
Fact.
But see that's people get into this situation where who's a better player, who it's not about who's better, it's about who's more effective. It's about who's more effective. You can be a better player, okay? That's all well and good, but who's more effective? Devontae Adams is better than most of these receivers in the league, right? If you put skill for skill, Devontae Adams is a better player than Tyreek Hill. Who's been more effective this year? It's not about who's better, it's about who's more effective.
It's tough, man, because man, it's a lot it's all about context, you know what I mean? Like someone in the chat mentioned, I agree with Jimmy G at quarterback. Defenses were playing the Raiders a whole completely different way. You know what I mean? They were literally daring them to throw it deep. So they were loading up the box, as well as our line is not they're not at physical at the point of contact. I felt like they they were better as pass blockers than run blockers. They got better as the season went along, but I'm not trying to make excuses for Josh Jacobs because he had his struggles. He didn't look as good, as elusive as he did the year before, where he led the league in rushing. Up for review, he wants to add to this conversation. He says, Zamir White playing against unmotivated teams over 100 yards. Outside of that, he was pedestrian.
What other opportunities did he have? And were the Chiefs not motivated? So the Chiefs weren't motivated, right? He carried like how many games this win did Josh Jacobs carry us to a win against a good team? Josh Jacobs put up 200-yard games against the Giants and the Jets. Were they motivated?
Yeah.
So we went up against
no facts. Zamir White did play against the Chiefs. He played good against a good defensive team, and they didn't want to lose that game. On Christmas, they did not want to lose that game. Against the Raiders? Come on, Chiefs hate the Raiders as much as the Raiders hate the Chiefs. So I agree with that.
And let's dead all this right now. The Chiefs knew we were going to be running the ball because Aiden O'Connell hadn't been effective all day. And when the Chiefs knew we were going to be running the ball, we got a hat on the hat, and Zamir had some of his biggest runs of that day. So I don't want to hear this, oh, Jimmy G was, bro. It's Zamir White was more effective in this offense than Josh Jacobs. Y'all don't want to admit it because y'all have some personal connection to Josh Jacobs and it's some sentiment. But Zamir was a more effective player in this offense.
Hey, Josh, man, we trying to get you on the show, man. Severe Raider, these are his comments.
But I'm trying to save $12 million for Malcolm Kuntz and Robert Spillane.
Nah, man, I feel you, man. You know what? I like Josh, man. I still think he's a better running back than Zamir. But money, I'm not gonna lie, money that paying that running back that much money is a huge factor. But if it's a reasonable contract, I wouldn't mind getting, if it's like a team-friendly deal, makes sense on both sides. You know what I mean? Which I think could happen. I think the Raiders can, if they really want to, make it happen. I think it. Especially look,
if he's willing to take $8 million a year, a heavily incentivized contract, I'm all good for it. But if not.
Look. If AP's the head coach, I think he'll look into bringing. He'll vouch or he'll try to bring. I know the GM is going to play a big part if AP's the head coach. But Jim Harbaugh becomes the head coach, for example, I think he would want to bring back a Josh Jacobs just based off his philosophy of running the football. But who knows, man? They might even just draft a running back. Some people are mentioning. I think someone in the chat was like. Cowtown Luda says, I agree with T on that. He got a little too Hollywood and didn't produce. Pick up Ray Davis or the running back from Boise State, Ashton Genty. So
I like Ray Davis. Ray Davis is a late round guy too, and he's a little bit of a change of pace box.
Mm-hmm. Up for review says running backs want long-term deals, but that's $8 million a year. So I think. He gave you a contract. See if you agree with this contract. He said for Josh Jacobs, 5 years, $42 million.
No. 5 years? Hell no, bro. You crazy? 5 years for a running back? Bro, you was outside of your bro, is you giving a running back 5 years? A running back that has been banged up every year of his career, coming off the worst year of his career. You know what? Let's sign you up for 5 years. Like, come on, bro. Come on, man. That's like saying, you know what? Like, hear me out. I know Jimmy G was hurt, but if you give him 3 more years, I think he can. Like, nah, bro. I'm good. I'm good.
On GOD says AP and whoever doesn't beat Harbaugh and Herbert, period.
Bro, bro.
Hey man, like I said, some people are they're on the Harbaugh train, man. They like the success that he's had. He's proven he's been a head coach. AP is still even though he did a solid job as an interim head coach to come in the middle of the season and pretty much turn around that locker room. Just the whole energy just changed under AP.
Yeah.
But there's still a little bit of doubt. Like, can he be a head coach in the NFL? Is it because he was a linebacker coach? He wasn't even a defensive coordinator. He was a linebacker coach.
Yeah.
Who got that head coach opportunity. And you talked about it earlier, like, hey, probably the reason why Patrick Graham is going to be leaving is like, hey, the guy that I hired to become the linebacker coach is the head coach. You know what I mean? And that's a position that he was interviewing before he came to the Raiders, and who's currently going to be, I think he's going to be interviewing with the Chargers this week. So, you know, I understand. I get it. But it's a risk both ways, man, because you don't know what Harbaugh is going to do when he comes to this team, this locker room. How are they going to blow it up? I'm not sure. To be honest with you, I'm not sure if Harbaugh comes to the Raiders, man. Just based on a lot of different reasons. Like, if he comes in, he's not going to blow it up. He's going to want to win now. If he comes back to the NFL, he's going to want to win now. How do you win now? You got to win with what? A quarterback. And the Raiders don't have that. Straight up.
Exactly. And it's not only we don't have that, I don't think we have the resources to really get one. Like, even if you go to the Bears, the Bears have the resources to get a quarterback. And the NFC North is getting a little bit better. So the AFC West, you have to deal with Patrick Mahomes, twice a year. Do you really want to do that? And then you have to deal with Justin Herbert twice a year, who is a guy who, if they get a good head coach, that can be a very dangerous team. So,
Anthony Provencio says Kuntz and Hobbs looking for a contract soon, if not this year.
Facts.
I'm looking into signing Kuntz. Are you looking at signing Nate Hobbs long term?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Nate Hobbs is a guy. He's kind of banged up yearly too, but I mean, he's banged up just because the way he plays the game, man. So I wouldn't mind. He's probably he's top 5 nickel corner in the league, one of the best blitzing DBs in the league, one of the best tackling DBs in the league. Like, he offers so much versatility. He's a guy that you can if you want to run a 4-2-5, he can come down in the box and help you play that. He can come back and he can go deep and play safety. He can, he's had experience playing on the outside. He has experience playing in the nickel. He has experience playing a dime. Like, he's a chess piece. You can move around, man. So I'm locking up Nate Hobbs. Definitely.
You definitely mentioned
and
his
he's
strengths
a leader too, man.
Yeah, you definitely mentioned his strengths, but also I feel like you can attack Nate Hobbs in coverage.
Yeah. I mean,
what I mean?
But the thing about it
and as a corner, you know what I mean? That is kind of the main responsibility, man. You got to cover the guy in front of you. And I've noticed when we played against teams who've had quarterbacks, they've attacked him. You know what I mean? Yeah. They'd attack Nate Hobbs. But like you said, you mentioned, like, obviously he's physical, can stop the run. Yeah. He's a chess piece. You can move him around. I get it, but as a coverage, he's kind of shaky in coverage.
Playing nickel is the toughest spot to play, just because, first of all, you have to deal with all the trash. You can have to worry about, like, these crossing routes being chipped. Then the receivers have two-way goals, so they can either break in or break out on their routes, and you don't have the sideline to help defend you. So it's extremely difficult to play nickel corner, especially. And then a lot of these teams now, they're putting their best receivers. Like, we do it oftentimes. DeAndre Hopkins did it for years. Like, they put their best receivers in the slot. So you're playing against the other team's best receiver, and they have two-way goals. It just makes it difficult.
Right. And Mr. Marty Mart says Amik is a free agent. Do we look to bring him back, Amik?
I like Amik as a depth piece. I mean, I'm not bringing him back as a starter, but I think he's great as a depth piece. He can fill in admirably. If guys get hurt, he's great in the locker room, great in the practice field. He has that Raider. People always talk about the Raider attitude. I think he has that Raider attitude. He has that dog. So I wouldn't mind having him on the squad, but he is not a starter at outside corner in the NFL.
Yeah. But he's versatile. He can play inside, outside. He can play man coverage. He's a dog. You could tell, like, he's a. I want to say. I don't want to say he's not a leader in that locker room, but you could tell he has a lot of respect in the locker room. Like, exactly. He's well liked in the locker room. He's outspoken. I wouldn't mind him to come back for sure, but if someone offers him starter level money, like, sayonara, like that's a little bit too much to be honest with you. But I think if we can bring back Amik and it's reasonable as a depth piece, yes. But I think he's shown enough where he could probably get a solid deal somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like
I think
because he plays a position where it's that corner spot is highly valuable. But hold on 1 second. If you could go take over in the chat real quick, I'll even pull up
for sure.
real quick.
Yeah, for sure. I see my brother Jack Kenna. Salute to Jack Kenna with the $5 super chat. Just because for the super, my brother 100. As you know, we normally agree with Patrick Graham, AP or Harbaugh as the HC. Much love and respect. Much love and respect to you too, Jack Kenna. Always participating in the chat. Let's see what else we got. I'm trying to, man, y'all been killing it in this chat. I see some people don't agree with my take on Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs can kick rocks, in my opinion. I mean, and this is not something new, right? This is something I've said in the beginning of the year. Like Josh Jacobs, people talking about, you want to talk about how many guys are in the box. If Josh Jacobs is dependent on how many guys we have in the box to be productive, and you're saying that Zamir had less guys in the box, that's why he was more productive, then obviously Josh Jacobs wasn't productive because he did. So if I'm getting the same level of production based on how many guys the opposite team have in the box, then why am I signing Josh Jacobs?
Right.
You feel me? Zamir did good because he didn't have as many guys in the box. So then apparently Josh Jacobs is dependent on what the defense does because there's all these guys that are in the box. So if that's what is the X factor, then I'm just going to look for a quarterback that can throw deep and keep Zamir.
Yeah.
For cheaper.
And I'm just going to go back to Jack Kenna. I appreciate the super chat. I'm going to give you a horn for the super chat, man. Appreciate it, man. But yeah, man, that Josh Jacobs conversation, man, we can go back and forth. I think it's like it's a mix. Like you on one side, you could say like, hey, at the end of the day, like he plays a position where it's not valued anymore, man. It doesn't make sense to put your money into a running back where it can easily be replaced pretty much every year, man. There's a running back coming out the draft. You know what I mean? I think there's a few guys that were undrafted. I think the Broncos were they the team that they had an undrafted running back pretty much start for them. I know Javonte Williams had some carries, but I only bring them as an example is that the fact is like you can find running backs.
Find these guys late in the draft, man. Where was Pacheco drafted? Where was a Chain drafted? Right, a Chain was a late round guy, wasn't he?
You said Chain?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think I can't. Don't quote me on it. But I don't think he was a first round pick for sure. He wasn't like a.
He for sure wasn't a first round pick. So and then he's a guy before he got hurt. He was, once he was leading the league in rushing, and even after he got hurt for like 2 or 3 weeks, he was still like one of the league leaders in rushing. So it's like, I want to say, I think he was like a 3rd or 4th round guy, basically about where we drafted Zamir, and that's about the sweet spot for running backs, the 3rd or 4th round, unless you have a generational guy, unless you get a guy like Derrick Henry, or you get a Bijan Robinson, or you get a Saquon Barkley. That's where I'm like, okay, this guy can totally change my offense because of not only not necessarily Derrick Henry as a pass catcher, but Bijan and Saquon, they were both very accomplished pass catchers. Josh Jacobs has yet to prove he can be that in the NFL. It still doesn't have a touchdown catch in the NFL.
Hey, one thing I will say though, which I've been impressed just from watching him play, is Zamir. He's good catching the ball at the backfield. He got hands.
And that's one of the things that that's one of the reasons why he was a later round pick. As he was a 3rd round pick. I want to say two as well. And most people had them as one of their top 5 backs in that class. The biggest question mark was his ability to catch the ball because he never really did it at Georgia. And just one of the things he said when he first got here, I remember him talking about, hey, every day in practice, I'm working on catching the ball. And look, that work has paid off. So he's a guy that not only can come in and say, hey, you know what, I'm an effective runner, but I recognize my weaknesses. I'm going to, pay attention to him, work on them, and improve him. And he's been more than a solid pass catcher out of the backfield.
Marty Mart says, Jaden Daniels, and I appreciate everybody in the chat, man. Hey, look, we trying to get to everybody. But Marty Mart says Jaden Daniels was in the Raiders locker room last night. I don't know
Yeah.
if you caught that. I think I retweeted that too. I might have sent that to you as well. Yeah, man. Your guy Daniels was in the building, in the locker room, which makes you think, man, if Daniels somehow, some way, which most likely it's not gonna happen when we got so many teams in front of us. But if he's there, and AP's the head coach, he's gonna try to go after his guy.
I would hope so. But it's going to be. I say Jaden Daniels was in the Raiders locker room last night. That's going to probably be the last time he's in the Raiders locker room because I doubt, because it's just going to the cost may just be too prohibitive. And I would love it. I think AP would love it as well. He's been lobbying all over the place to get to the Raiders. But guess what? CJ Stroud was lobbying all last offseason to get to the Raiders too. And at the end of the day, the organization deemed the cost too much, or they elected not to do that, which I said was a mistake at the time. And, Severe's right once again. Like I'm right about Josh Jacobs being the I mean, so I don't think, like I said, if so many teams in front of us that wants quarterbacks, it's just going to be that price may just be too much for us.
Raiders Mama 2489, please shout out our son Raider, 17-month-old, born with 5 holes in his heart. Wow. We spent 14 months in Sacred Heart Hospital, but is now home and thriving, man. Shout out to you and your newborn son. We hope everything goes well, man. Yeah, shout out to you, man. Like, I appreciate you coming through, and I seen that comment. I had to show it, man. But yeah, man. My prayers go out to you and your family and your son. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yes, man. Happy that he's finally home. Congratulations, and I wish him much health and success going forward, because man, that is rough. That is rough.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Desert Raider says, "Good evening, Joe. Hey, man, appreciate you coming through, man. It's been a great show. It's been a great show, man. We talked about a lot, man. Man, the season is finally over, but you know how it is, man. Football's like 365 days out the year, man. It's year round, because you know what's coming up right now. Raiders got to figure out their head coach, GM, the entire offseason from free agency to the draft. Like, there's so much that we're going to get into and talk about. Man, just be on the lookout for future content, future shows. But yeah, the season is officially over, man. Like, but I would say that I feel way more positive and upbeat compared to how I was in the beginning of the season. That sounds crazy, but
fact.
It's just that's the nature of the team. Like, the team was all the way messed up with McDaniels, and now with AP, he's kind of changed that culture, that whole locker room. He's gave energy to this team, the whole fan base, and now we're trying to figure out, is he going to be the head coach? Is it going to be Jim Harbaugh? It's like, hey, like I said earlier, that's a good problem to have, man. If it's between Harbaugh and AP, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. I just hope that it's not no weird hire, like no left field, like who, like, you know what I mean, like, and we've seen it times. Raider fans, like fans of the team, we've seen some weird stuff come up from the Raiders. So I just hope that it's nothing weird. Like,
I don't want to. Whoever we have, I'm gonna support him, right? I supported Josh McDaniels till he got fired. I supported John Gruden till he resigned. I supported, Jack Del Rio till he was essentially fired himself. I supported Hugh Jackson. Only guy I didn't support was Dennis Allen, because I knew he was a bum. I didn't like that hire. But everybody else I supported.
But we were kind of desperate at that time. We were desperate.
What happened? And I didn't support Lane Kiffin either, because he was from USC. I refused to support that hire. But like
UCLA fan.
I don't want to prejudge a hire, because everybody prejudged Dan Campbell when he was talking about biting kneecaps. Look at the Lions now. Everybody criticized Nick Sirianni after that first press conference. Look at him now. Everybody was clowning Mike McDaniel just because he's just a weird guy. But look at the Dolphins now. So I'm not going to pass judgment on any hire. I'm going to give them the same grace I gave just about every other coach. And I would hope that Raider Nation does that for every we hire, because I know there's going to be some touched nerves if it's not AP. So I'm just saying, hey, you know what? If it's not the guy you want at the end of the day, that guy is still a Raider, and it's best if that guy succeeds. That's what's better for all of us, and I'd rather the coach succeed than me be right about who we should have hired.
Yeah, and Daniel, I think this is what I was talking about earlier. Yeah, was it Mike Greenberg said Harbaugh loves Herbert? I seen that clip of him talking about when he seen Harbaugh and he was speaking to him, and he was just talking about Justin Herbert and how he loves him as a player and quarterback. Hey, man, if you want to connect the dots, where there's smoke, there's fire. It's a big possibility that he can go to the Chargers. I'm just saying, but we won't know, man. It's like I said, it's a whole offseason to go, so we don't know what might happen. But I just hope he just goes to the Bears. I hope the Bears offer him like $20 million a year, some crazy, outrageous. Give him GM responsibility. Let him draft his QB in the first. Like, keep him away from the AFC West. Come on, man. We got to worry about Andy Reid and Sean Payton. It's just, come on, man. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. But man, the chat is going crazy, man. I'm trying to get to every comment as much as I can. Bougie says, read a quote that Al Davis is hoping Harbaugh would be the Raiders head coach one day. I gotta see that. I'm not sure. There's a quote where Al Davis actually said that?
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it. But
I didn't see that. But I know that he was a coach. He was a QB coach for the Raiders.
Yes.
Back in 2002 when the Raiders went to the Super Bowl. The last time they went to the Super Bowl was when he was a QB coach for the Raiders, which there's a Raider connection too.
Yeah.
So, which a lot of people are like, hey, we need to get a Raider in the building, and we need a guy that's, one of the biggest complaints about McDaniels, like he doesn't look, sound like a Raider. It was not a good fit at all.
And that's one of those things, man, where I as far as I know, I don't follow other teams, so I wouldn't be intimately privy to this kind of knowledge, but we're the only team that does that. Like, he doesn't look or feel like a Raider. Like, well, did Andy Reid look or feel like a Chief? Did Nick Sirianni look or feel like an Eagle? Did Bill Belichick look or feel like a Patriot? I don't care about can you get the job done? But that's all I care about. Can you get the job done?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then it just makes it worse when you don't when you don't get the job done. Then we start making fun of you. Then we start looking at all the flaws, which is true. But McDaniels, I gave him a shot, man. I tried to. I'm like, man, he does come. He was part of successful teams and yada yada yada. But good riddance. He's gone. I don't care. And he's most likely going to the Patriots, from what I hear. Like, if Bill Belichick comes back, he's going back to his old buddy Bill. And hopefully he takes Jimmy G with him. You know what I mean? Hopefully they trade. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Look, I'm trying to get through all this. Man, it's so much comments here. I'm trying to put the most relevant comments here. Because they're having conversation within conversation. I'm trying to. Anthony Provencher says, I want Harbaugh number 1, but if Antonio Pierce gets the job, I'm still happy. The team will go hard for him. Yeah. Yeah, man.
So what is the dead cap hit if we cut Jimmy G after June 1st? Do you know that?
Let me go.
I don't know it.
Let me pull up Jimmy G's contract on Jimmy Garoppolo. Let's see.
A spot track.
Yeah, let me.
I have a question for the nation. All right, we all know we do not want Jimmy G as our starter, but if it's going to hurt us so much in dead money to cut Jimmy G, and seeing how Jimmy G has been with Aiden, seeing he's one of the first guys out there, dapping people up. When guys make a big play, he's one of the first guys out there congratulating them. Obviously, he's been great in the locker room. If the costs are so prohibitive to cut him, would Raider Nation be okay with keeping him as a backup? And maybe he's a guy that mentors a young guy, whether we keep Aiden, whether we draft another guy. He's just there strictly as a mentor, or everybody's just, hey, know what, I want him cut.
I like his attitude. I mean, he wasn't like a problem in the locker room when he got benched, and he had a quote, I think, with one of the beat writers saying that he, even though he was benched, like, he was still happy. He enjoyed, being in that locker room. He had some positive things to say about AP and how the whole energy of team really, they really played hard for him and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, of course he's going to be positive. He's still getting paid. He's getting paid to really not do, I don't want to say not do nothing. You know what I mean? He's still part of the team. He's still a backup, but I'm just saying, man, like it's such a bad contract. Just think about it. Thinking about it this way. The dude if you look at his history, it's injuries almost every other season, if not every season.
Yeah.
And then when we signed him, we found out he was still hurt. Like his injury that he was supposed to be recovered from was still a problem. Yeah. And we still gave him all that money. And then you know what he admitted to the beat writers to it? I forgot to mention is that he admitted that the foot was still a problem.
I don't like. I have no like. I said it before. I said it in relevance to Tyree Wilson. But these are professional athletes. These are big guys who have to make explosive movements on a consistent basis. Like your feet are one of the most important things on your body when it comes to that, especially when it comes to explosion. So that it's going to affect them. And what's ironic is that everybody. When we talk about Tyree Wilson, everybody gave him a pass. Like, oh, what do you expect him? His foot is hurt. Well, of course he wasn't that great. Of course, let's get off his bad. His foot is hurt. But we didn't give that same grace to Jimmy. And I think that, that kind of stuff affects you. It affects your movement in the pocket, affects your comfortability, like all that stuff. So still don't think he's a good quarterback. I don't want him as a starter. But as a guy that's a leader in the locker room, that could be a mentor to a young guy, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind keeping him here.
And just real quick, man, let me we got a super chat over here from my guy Latavarian Savage. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he says Harbaugh said on ESPN with Scott Van Pelt he's moving back to Ann Arbor in the spring. And I appreciate the super chat, man. Appreciate it, my guy. But that could be, I think he's familiar with the area. I mean, he's, his family is pretty much, and him, they've been living in that community for a while. So I'm sure like maybe that might be a place that he might live in the off season. Who knows? Hey, or he could be realistically considering signing that I think that huge offer that Michigan offered him that's on the table. Like he has options, bro. He has options from NFL teams. He can easily re-sign. I think it was like a 10-year whatever contract with Michigan. So, it's a possibility. But if that's the case, AP, man.
Yeah.
AP might be the guy. If not, Harbaugh, from what I'm hearing, Mark Davis, it could all be smoke, man. It could all be, it's going to be a lot of talks, going to be a lot of rumors. So we'll figure it out as it happens. But I wouldn't be mad if Harbaugh became the head coach. I wouldn't be totally upset. I would be like, man, like they want to give AP a chance, but I'm not going to be like, man, why do we hire our Harbaugh? I understand why Harbaugh would get hired.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I understand. Exactly. Like it's not a bad hire. It's not going to be a terrible hire. So like I said, it just goes back to what I said earlier, man. It's a good problem to have, but I appreciate the super chat. But going back to what you said, Severe, you were talking about Jimmy G's contract, and I believe if they cut him, there's going to be a $28 million cap hit, dead cap hit.
No, I'm keeping him. I'm keeping him, bro.
Now, if he's a June 1st cut, I think that they can split. They know that what happens is they still have to pay that money. But they can split.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they split it. They can split that dead cap hit
over 2 years or whatever.
Yeah. So there's a potential out. I think after 2025. No, after 2024. Yeah. So after next season, there's going to be a potential out. It says right here, 2025, 2 year, $48 million, and a $12 million dead cap hit. So then now it becomes that much more reasonable. So I think. But do you see him staying on this roster? But I mean, that contract is bad, man. It is terrible.
Who else is gonna pay him that? And that's the benefit. If we're gonna go young at quarterback, you know, because that's a lot of money in dead cap. That's a lot of money in dead cap. So if we cut him, then we have to sign another backup guy who's gonna still be just gonna be cheap-ish. And then if we have a rookie quarterback, you're still gonna be paying him a lot of money. I'd rather just keep him on until we can cut him, and there's a great reduction in that amount of dead cap hit, because I mean, you want to keep your cap in order.
My guy Bougie says, Pharaoh, it was a quote from John Madden about him thinking Al expected Harbaugh to be the Raiders head coach someday at Mercury. Okay. I'm gonna have to look into that, man. That's a pretty good quote if that's the truth. And I'm sure, and I think there's always been an interest from the Raiders from Mark Davis. I think he wanted to hire him back in 2014. Obviously, Harbaugh went to Michigan. Then there was possible interest in 2021. But at that time, you know, obviously the Raiders went with, you know, sadly they went with McDaniels. And now there's an opportunity to maybe get him again. So we'll see, man. We'll see. Let's see if Mark Davis gets his guy, man. Daniel Kim says, who's y'all realistic option at QB from the draft? Let me get back to the regular view. Man,
realistic option.
Realistic
option. At this point, it's Cam Ward in like the late second if we trade back, or the third.
Yeah, like you wouldn't draft a quarterback at number 13 based off the teams in front of us getting the top QBs. You got to go best player available, and man, hopefully we get like someone that can maybe a top D tackle on the board, maybe a top corner. I still think that we should address corner. We still need another corner, in my opinion.
I still think we need a number one corner. I mean, we need. I would want a like a top flight defensive tackle. I like what we have a defensive tackle. Another guy we need to bring back is Adam Butler. Got to bring him up, but I think Adam Butler is a guy we definitely should bring back. He's a Patriot guy too, but you know he bought out this year.
He's a good pickup. He was a good pickup.
He's a good pickup. And Tyree talked about how much Adam Butler was like responsible for how he's been playing so well at three technique. Basically, like Adam Butler has been coaching him up. So, you know, I think he's definitely a guy we should bring back.
Hey, another thing, Tyree Wilson. Now, Tyree, this is not a season that he probably wants to remember. I mean, like he had his struggles, and he's still struggling, man. I was watching last game, his get off. Whew,
bro,
that gotta be numero uno emphasis of the offseason, improving his get off. He needs to get together with Max Crosby, the top whoever specialist, and that should be his number one priority is to look at that ball and do whatever it takes, man, to improve that part of his game, because that's a huge problem, man. It's still a problem. Like, I was literally watching like the game, and you could see him. He's like the last guy just after the ball gets hiked to move. So it's still an issue.
Look, man, I've been saying that. Look, people want to talk people want to question my takes. Look at what I said this last offseason. I said I would not pay Josh Jacobs. Right. I said I would draft CJ Stroud number 1 overall, the best quarterback in this draft. Correct. I said Zamir needs a chance and he'd be productive. I was correct. I said Spillane was going to be a good player. I was correct. I said I wouldn't bring in Marcus Peters as a cornerback. I was correct. I said Tyree Wilson had a horrible ball get off, always consistently the last or one of the last guys off the line. I was correct. You can check my resume. I'm not always right, but I'm right a lot more than I'm wrong. Check the stats.
Make sure the stats. Hey, go ahead and go over to Severe Raiders channel and give them a follow. Hey, go ahead and subscribe, man. Also all over social media. Give them a follow on social media all over the Severe Raider, like you see it on the screen, and then subscribe to his channel, Severe Raider, man, as well as like the video. If you haven't liked it already, please go ahead and like the video. I want to keep coming back and doing this content, so make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. The road to 4K continues. And hit that notification bell so you'll be notified the next time we go live and drop new content, man. So, but we appreciate everybody coming through, man. Hey, if we haven't, man, it's been a good show, man. I feel like I was trying to get to everybody's comment. Let me see. We got some people. Daniel Kim says severe with his receipts. And Space Beast over here giving you credit. I gotta give it to Severe. The takes are spicy hell, but he's on point. He's on point.
Appreciate that, brothers. Appreciate that.
And you know, May Spitfire says Tyree needs some milk.
Man,
he needs something, man. He needs something to get his.
Every time I see Tyree carries himself like bruh man from the fifth floor. Like every time I see him, bro, I be like,
damn.
Gonna get a stand.
He just come into your spot like just looking all like he just got that delayed reaction. I don't know. It's just something like he's just thinking about what he's about to say before he says it. Like you could see it all in his face. But yeah, man, he's a young guy, man. He's gonna get it together. He's gonna figure it out, man. He's gonna have a whole off season with Max Crosby. He's gonna improve. Hopefully he gets better.
I got high hopes, man. I hope he's better, more productive on the outside than he has been. I mean, you don't want to draft. I mean, we need DTs, but you don't want to draft a DT that high. I would rather we have like a true pass rusher, be a guy we drafted that high. So, but if he offers that versatility, hey, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, man. But yeah, man. Hey, it's like I said, it's been a great show. A lot of people in the chat going crazy. I apologize if I can't get to everybody's chat. But that being said, you can always leave a comment after the video. I check out the comments as well as Severe, man. I know he's on it as well. So, yeah, just leave a comment and we'll get to it, man. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear from the nation because at the end of the day, like, hey, sometimes I learn from y'all too as well. So, like, you guys might point something out. If we miss some of your questions or your ideas or comments about the show or even about the Raiders, make sure to leave a comment and let us know, man. Like I said, it's been a great show. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Like I said, the road to 4K continues. Still trying to get to that number. But I appreciate everybody's support. Severe, any last thoughts?
Yeah, man. Y'all head over to my IG, head over to my YouTube channel. A lot of y'all not subscribed to me. Make sure y'all subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, will you subscribe now?
This man came out with the AP 3000s, man. He came out ready to go. But yeah, man, we appreciate everybody coming through. We might go, maybe later this week, we might do another live. Hopefully we can get Ray possibly on the show. We'll try to figure something out. Be on the lookout. Like I said, if you want to be subscribed to our socials, we usually announce that I usually announce it on my community tab and on the socials as well. So just be on the lookout, man. Hit the notification bell. You'll see Kim is dying. But yeah, man, till next time. All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Great Pharaoh. The gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the five rivers.
Believe that the greatness of the Raiders would be in its future.
just win, baby.
Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.